Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your stimulus check update for the second stimulus package for Saturday, August 8th. I hope everyone is off to a good and safe weekend so far. In this video, I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus check, including will the next relief package pass anytime soon. I'll also be discussing the possibility of receiving a second stimulus payment, unemployment, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, giving me a big thumbs up. It really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so the July jobs report is in, and the United States economy effectively added 1.8 million new jobs in July, lowering the unemployment rate all the way down to 10.2%. This makes for a 1% drop-off when compared to the June jobs numbers. And although there are still millions of Americans unemployed, we are moving in the right direction. This is very good news. I have personally seen several people start a new job within just the last couple of months, so of course I'm very happy for them. With all that said, how many of you guys have recently started a job within the last couple of months? And if you haven't yet, are you optimistic about doing so? Let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below. Okay, so let me start this out by saying that this video has both some bad news and also some good news as well. Alright, so yesterday, the meeting between Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mark Meadows, and Stephen Mnuchin got a little bit heated. They have been meeting over the past couple of weeks, trying to hash out all the details in the next relief package. Now, they started out by making some really solid progress, and they even had hopes of reaching a deal by this weekend, which they would possibly be able to vote on next week. However, yesterday is where things really broke down. You see, from the very beginning, the Democrats wanted to spend right around $3 trillion on this next relief package, whereas the Republicans only wanted to spend around $1 trillion. So Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer said, hey, why don't we make this fair? We'll knock down our price tag from $3 trillion down to $2 trillion if you raise your budget up from $1 trillion to $2 trillion. That way we can meet in the middle. Well, Mnuchin and Meadows said absolutely not, calling that a non-starting point. So, no deal. No deal at all. The meeting ended with absolutely no progress. Zero. None. Unbelievable. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin said, quote, "Unfortunately, we did not make any progress today." Chuck Schumer said, "Basically, what's happening is Mr. Meadows is from the Tea Party, and they don't want to spend the necessary money. They rejected it totally." Schumer then went on to say that the Democrats in the House and the Democrats in the Senate will not vote yes on any bill if it's less than $2 trillion. He doesn't believe that there's any possibility of a bill passing if it's less than $2 trillion. Now, with all that said, how much do you personally think that Congress should spend in the next relief package? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Okay, so in this particular scenario, I really don't want to be the one blaming either side here. What are the three most important issues that are concerning us right now? In my personal opinion, they're evictions, unemployment, and stimulus payments. Well, guess what? The two sides, more or less, pretty much had an agreement on two of the three of those issues. They had an agreement that they needed to prevent evictions. They were both on board with that. They also had an agreement on stimulus payments. They both wanted to send out a second round of stimulus payments. The only thing that they were a little bit off on concerned the unemployment. The Republicans only wanted to give $400 per week through December 15th, whereas the Democrats wanted to keep it at $600. And honestly, the difference isn't that much. I mean, $400 obviously isn't as good as $600, but at a certain point in time, you almost have to question whether Nancy Pelosi should have just gone ahead and accepted the $400 offer. What do you guys personally think about that? Do you think that Nancy Pelosi should have accepted the $400 weekly unemployment offer made by Mnuchin and Meadows? Or do you think she should have stood firm at $600 like she did, even though it's delaying this package just a little bit? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Mark Meadows said, quote, "The enhanced unemployment has expired. The Democrats have had an opportunity multiple times to extend even what we're doing right now, and they've consistently said no. Where is the compromise in any of that?" Meadows doesn't believe the Democrats are willing to compromise whatsoever. Stephen Mnuchin said, quote, "We are very flexible. If there's areas of agreement that we can agree on, pass legislation and come back to areas outside of that, we'll do that. We want to move forward for the American people. It's just so frustrating that the two sides cannot seem to meet in the middle." It seems like at the very least, the two sides could have agreed on a skinny deal pertaining to the most important parts of the next relief package and had something passed, but Nancy Pelosi is opposed to a skinny deal because she is afraid that if she agrees to a skinny deal, then it might be more difficult to get the Republicans back to the negotiating table for other things that she wants to see in the next relief package. Mark Meadows said, quote, "My frustration is that we could have passed a very skinny deal that dealt with some of the most pressing issues." What do you guys personally think about this? Would you rather see Congress pass a skinny bill with only the most important issues in it? Or would you rather see them hold out and try to have a larger stimulus package, but maybe take a little bit longer in doing so? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. But I guess the biggest breakdown is where the overall spending is at. You can call the Republicans cheap, you can call the Republicans fiscally responsible. However you want to call it, they weren't willing to meet the Democrats in the middle. Mnuchin and Meadows said they believe the Democrats' demand for nearly $1 trillion for state and local government is the biggest sticking point over a deal. They also claim that the Democrats are unwilling to move off of their position on things such as student loan forgiveness. Then, of course, the Democrats weren't willing to significantly lower their budget offer either. It takes two to tango here. Hard not to see a bit of blame on both sides here. What do you guys personally think about the situation? Do you believe that the Republicans are more in the wrong, or do you believe that the Democrats are more in the wrong here? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. So at this point in time, there are no more plans for the Republicans and the Democrats to continue negotiating. They're just too far apart right now, and they may not come back to the negotiating table for several weeks. Now, Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin did say that he would be more than happy to come back to the negotiating table if the Democrats had a new proposal, and Nancy Pelosi said that she would be more than happy to talk with the Republicans again as long as they were willing to raise their budget. More than likely, both of those are probably not going to happen. So obviously, that is very, very disappointing. The egos of our politicians are getting in the way of Americans getting the aid that they need. Just a very sad situation overall. Okay, so that's the bad news. We probably won't be seeing a deal struck anytime this weekend. Is it possible that something changes this weekend? Possibly. It's still possible that the two sides could come to their senses and try to at least prevent evictions, extend unemployment, and send out more stimulus checks. Or possibly they won't. It's possible that the two sides are done talking entirely. However, here's the silver lining in all of this. Here is the good news. Even though a stimulus package may not be reached between Democrats and Republicans, it's still entirely possible that President Trump can issue an executive order to prevent evictions, extend unemployment, freeze student loan payments, and possibly issue a payroll tax cut. After the meeting, Stephen Mnuchin suggested that Trump goes ahead and moves forward with an executive order. Americans need action right now, and Congress isn't willing to take any action. So at this point, it's entirely up to President Trump to prevent evictions and extend those unemployment benefits. Again, even though this is a highly disappointing situation, we do have good news by having the White House looking into this option. With that said, would you be okay with the president issuing an executive order on these things? The reason I ask is because I know some people would rather see these things go through Congress first, so let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below. There's still a very good chance that we can extend the unemployment benefits. There's still a very good chance that we can prevent evictions. These are both still very positive things that need to happen now. Let's hope the president can make that happen. So, with that said, let's try not to lose hope here. Let's try to stay positive. And then, perhaps, Congress can go back to the drawing table and pass additional pieces of aid later on. And unfortunately, according to reports, if the president does issue an executive order, it's unlikely he'll be able to send out another round of stimulus payments in the order. However, being that a second round of stimulus payments are a bipartisan agreement between the two sides, we can only hope that Congress will pass a separate piece of legislation for them. Okay, so at this point in time, I just wanted to go ahead and give a quick update on the first round of stimulus payments because unfortunately there are still millions of people who haven't even received their first stimulus payment, even though we may be sending out a second round of stimulus payments here in the next month or so, depending on whether or not Congress can finally get their act together and get this next relief package passed. So if you still haven't received your first stimulus payment, my best piece of advice right now is just to continue checking the payment portal. As long as you filed a tax return within the last 2 years, then you do not have to go through the non-filers tool. If you did not file a tax return within the last 2 years, then I would recommend that you do go through the non-filers tool. Also, if you started receiving Social Security benefits this year in 2020, then you should also go through the non-filers tool as well. Now, the IRS does plan on continuing to send out stimulus payments each and every week, and their next direct deposit date is scheduled for next Wednesday on August 12th. Also, if you are an expat living abroad outside the United States, the IRS recently noted that you should expect to receive your direct deposit no later than August 12th or August 14th, so be on the lookout for that. That is very good news for you expats that have been waiting for such a long period of time to receive your stimulus payment. Now, that's if you do have a US-based bank account. If you do not have a US-based bank account and you're an expat living abroad outside the United States, unfortunately, it may take a little bit longer because they're going to have to be mailing the check to your physical mailing address. So be on the lookout for a check if you have a non-US based bank in which you usually receive your Social Security benefits in. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to respond to as many comments and questions as I possibly can. And those comments and questions that I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video. And that comment comes from Krista. Krista says, if you didn't get a $500 dependent because my daughter was 17, do we still qualify to apply on our taxes? All right, thank you so much for that question, Krista. And as far as the first stimulus payment goes, you would not be eligible for the $500 stimulus credit just because your daughter was not under the age of 17. She was 17 and older, so therefore you would not be eligible for the $500 dependent credit. Okay, so moving right along to the second question of today's video is from Thelma. Thelma says, Josh, as of today, Friday, August 7th, the Get My Payment tool has technical difficulties. In one word, doesn't work. I was unable to contact the two 1-800 numbers, although I was able to contact them on July 16th. I called from my home phone in Lima, Peru. Please advise. I did not receive my first stimulus payment. All right, thank you so much for that question, Thelma, and I'm so sorry you still haven't received your first stimulus payment. I know it has to be extremely frustrating. Now, like I mentioned before, the IRS did recently note on their website for those expats living abroad outside the United States, they should expect to receive their stimulus payment no later than August 12th or August 14th if they do have a US-based bank account. Unfortunately, if you do not have a US-based bank account, it is going to take a little bit longer, as I did mention, because the IRS is unable to directly deposit stimulus payments into non-US based bank accounts. So instead, they're going to have to issue a check in the mail instead. Okay, so on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so, and it's a great support to me. Also, if you would like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull, the second free stock valued all the way up to $1,400, please feel free to claim those 2 free stocks by clicking the link in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.